we are here, Hope and Hustle
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
I'm Tyler Spivey.
Yep. And I'm Bo Fagan.
I am the executive director of the Next Step Foundation here in Terre Haute. We are a faith-based nonprofit that specializes in substance use disorder.
And I am the owner of FYP Services. We do restoration and cleaning, mainly air ducts, as well as mold, water damage, all of that stuff as well.
Yeah, so this all kind of developed pretty quick.
Yeah. It was. I'm glad I shot you and Dana that email.
Yeah.
And kind of he fired back and was like, "I'd like to do that with you and to make it happen." And it feels right. It feels right.
Yeah. So just some context. You had reached out to Dana and I. So Dana and I have been working towards this secession plan of hers for a couple of years now. So Dana Simons, co-founder of the Next Step Foundation, also served as executive director for many years, looking to transition her role to just teach and move to the board of directors. I wanted to support her in that transition. And so during this process, Bo, you reached out and was like, hey, would love to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and we've been, fortunate enough to kind of journey together, whether it be that Bible study we did for a couple years and our faith journeys have kind of been side by side with one another in this cool way, whether that would just be under the same pastor, serving on the same board, serving at the same organization.
Yeah.
So we kind of already have this rhythm and stuff, and it's like, let's share it. Like, from my perspective, being someone in recovery who hires people in recovery, your perspective, who's bringing people into recovery, sometimes day one. And so you kind of get this like cool facet of from beginning to follow through. I don't call it end, but follow through in recovery. So I think it's going to be cool to share the different perspectives that we have.
Yeah, when you look back, we have had a lot of different intersections.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is cool. And that's what really, well, one, I'm a fan of podcasts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I subscribe to a lot of different podcasts. And when you had first shot us that email, I was like excited, wanted to do it. And then the more I sat on it and thought about it, I was like, I think this is something that I'd like to try to do long term.
Yeah.
Not just be a guest, but
yes.
You know what I mean?
And I was at such a weird spot with it where I was like, okay, do I do it about like my industry? Do I do it about recovery? Do I do it about faith? Like there's all this like kind of what does the brand look like behind it? So, I just feel like the Hope and Hustle, being business and as well as in recovery and stuff, they kind of just fit together. It just made sense to kind of do this together.
Yeah, I think it embodies some of the pillars we talked about, right? Which is really focusing on recovery, faith, the community, and really, I was with you in terms of that mindset. Like I didn't want to just box us into one particular
absolutely
audience or topic, right? Obviously, we are huge advocates of recovery, people in recovery, promoting recovery, but I didn't want it to stop there, right? And especially like thinking about Terre Haute in general. Like one of the things I learned when I first moved to Terre Haute, because I had actually started to pursue recovery many, many decades ago. And I've been to some different cities. And when I got to Terre Haute, I was like, man, recovery is pretty strong down here.
Yeah.
And so really wanted to also bring the community into it too. And just all the ways that I've seen the different community leaders, community partners get behind recovery as well down here, churches, right? It's been awesome to see.
Yeah. And just someone, so like I was born and raised in Terre Haute. It's all I know. But when you're in that different lifestyle, you don't have any idea that this stuff exists. So one thing that's been fun for me to navigate post my time in Next Step as a resident has been the different layers of town, right? So like, my old friends, we would hang out at the bar, but now I'm hanging out at church more, or I'm painting at a church or something like that. So to be able to start to bring people in from people in Terre Haute who might not understand it but support it has been really cool for me to experience that, from that end of just understanding that, like, just the different buckets of people, in town. And I think that's another hope for this is that, the person who I maybe sat next to the bar 6 years ago might see this and maybe think different about life. And so yeah, that's cool. We kind of get an in-town perspective and an out-of-town perspective with that.
So as a person in recovery yourself, how have you seen that evolution, just within you yourself, from being a participant to, business owner, someone that can influence?
Yeah.
Right. How's that evolution been for you?
It's heavy, I would say, as well as eye-opening. So what I've realized is before going into recovery, so when I was entering into the next step, I didn't think I had anything in common with anyone there, right? So like I did a little bit of jail time. I've been in jail. But I just didn't feel like they were like my people, right? They weren't my friends that I was used to. As I start to journey down that path, though, I start to realize we all have this like thing inside of us where we're addicted to more. So it's the thing of, some people get 6 years, some people get 6 figures. I think I have people in my family who are workaholic, and it's actually helped me to relate better to society as a whole because I understand that it's just like everybody has a thing. And if it's not drugs, it's whatever, XYZ, you pick it. It could be religion, it could be pornography, it can be anything. So it's really actually kind of opened me up to understand like I can relate to almost anyone, whether it be drugs and alcohol or the multi-million-dollar business person. We're both broken. Like both people are just as broken. And so not fooling myself to that, I would say, has been the most eye-opening thing for me in my walk.
Yeah, I feel like on one end of the spectrum, we're all trying to meet a need, right? Sometimes we meet those needs in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
Sometimes in a not so healthy way.
Absolutely.
But then on the other end of the spectrum, I feel like it's very much connected to a sense of purpose.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like for you, right, you started as a peer coach there, and you've kind of navigated almost like the corporate structure of recovery.
Well, I would say prior to peer coach, I was a client.
Yes, literally.
Right. I participated in the program.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was incarcerated for about 9 months before I came to Terre Haute, more specifically to the doors of Next Step. Yeah. Was in the program for quite a few months. Door opened for me to pursue peer coaching, training, and just kind of kept building on that from there. And I would say, in a way, climbing the corporate ladder, right? So many opportunities. That's one thing I think about again with purpose. Like, I feel like that's been the difference maker for me this time around, because I went through that cycle for years of jails, institutions, even brushes with death at times, right? And I was never able to achieve or sustain long-term recovery and just kept going back.
What's the longest you had, like, before your state you have now?
Probably about 10 months.
Yeah.
And that's from the time I was like 13, really, when I started using. Pretty young age. Yeah. So, but again, to me, the difference maker this time was like these doors opened up for me down here, opportunities to give back, pursue a career.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the very field where, quite frankly, I had expertise.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Dana hired me on early on, I was doubting myself, of course. I'd never worked with people. And she told me one day, she said, Tyler, she said, you have the greatest credential of all. She said, you have lived experience.
Right. Right.
And that's never been lost on me.
Yeah. And that's the hope piece of the hope and hustle.
Yeah.
right? Like that's people can see it in you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always curious how people view, like, maybe your story, who grew up with you when they were 18, and then maybe they see you now and like, who is this person? Right. And like, that's the transformation piece that we go for, right? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
not going for sober. Like, we're going for healthy. That's the whole thing. Like, we're not
Yeah.
aiming to just like stop doing the drug by the grit of our teeth and then not enjoy life and be unhappy because we have to do this, and we can't do what we want to do. For me, the whole piece is, it's that thing inside of you transforming to desiring that other thing, which is the God piece, which is purpose, which is exactly what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, being in business, like, I can hit financial goals, I can hit monetary goals. It's not fulfilling. It does not do it the way it does when you see someone come out of a meth addiction and reconnect with their wife or save their marriage, right? Like, that's what it's about. I'd say for me, my experience with, kind of my accident that I got in really opened up that. Because I remember almost dying and literally being like, I do not care how much money I make. Like, I've got to do something different with my life. Like, I've got to help people. Um, and I think part of this purpose too is like encouraging people who aren't just working in the field or in recovery. Like, my hope is that another business sees this and they say, well, what could we do? Like, where would I have a space to be able to hire someone in recovery that they could help the business, but also like give back, like, and believe in people.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is like, people don't know they're valuable a lot of times when they come into recovery. They don't understand their worth, and I just feel very obligated to teach people that, like, to make them understand how much they're worth.
So expanding on that a little bit, do you feel like that's where your drive and your passion comes in for the church?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I don't have a lot of interest in that. I have interest in like the life change behind it. I
Mm-hmm.
have interest in like, the father who's been struggling with meth, and we like love them out of addiction, right? Like, that's the beauty of it. And again, it's not a grit the teeth, it's not a shame thing. It's a, like, this can happen for you, and like, you really don't have to struggle anymore. Now, that's not everybody's journey. There's been things God's taken out of my life in an instant, never craved again. And there's things that come back after 3 or 4 years where I'm like, oh, why am I thinking that? But like, the solid piece that never changes, right? Those thoughts can come back, but they just don't have control over me. They don't have power. It's what you're choosing to put first,
Yeah.
right? So we say, what is it? The fruit of sin, the fruit of idolatry is sin, right? And for me, if I'm putting a drug in front of people, I'm doing wrong, and I don't want to do wrong. Like, I think that's the wrong thing to do in life. Um, so yeah, I would say that's where the drive comes from, 100%.
I would say that's where the spark for me is too, because I grew up in church,
Mm-hmm.
um, did not always have a healthy relationship with the church. Looking back, I can clearly see like it was just a relationship with the church,
Right.
more religious, right? It wasn't until I got into recovery that I really started to understand and develop a personal relationship with Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
right? And figure out what all that was about, what that walk was about,
Yeah.
right? Loving people, serving people. Um, and so that spark has really led me down this path of it's helped paint a bigger, broader picture, right? Because again, it's not just limited to substances,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, Addiction, it's a broad thing, right? It's a very human condition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any and all things to an extreme, right, can be
Okay.
a weakness.
Yes.
Yeah, or unhealthy. So, how that's translated to the church and my walk with other people, it's really been so fulfilling, um, and has really just strengthened my faith,
Yeah.
my spirit.
Mm. And you get to see it. You see people do really well, and you see people burn out and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is that hope and seeing it that strengthens your faith, right? And you're a walking example of it yourself as well. So where does that lot, like, so for me in business, right? I have I have this the space that I always kind of battle. That is like, where's the point where like it's actually too much, right? Like, at what point have I worked too much or charged too much or whatever, that it takes away the fruit, the spirit of a business, right? Like, we're paying so much attention to numbers, metrics, science. We're not paying attention to, okay, I have an hour and a half in these people's house. I can feel depression on them. What can we do here? Like, we got work to do. And I think the way that we relate to you in your field and where you're at with your career is, where's that line of, it is a medical issue, but God, right? Like that balance there of like, how much do we treat? How much do we just lean into the spirit? What do you think about that space?
So, first of all, I'd say there's always a lot of tension
Yes,
in that space,
absolutely.
because
Yes, absolutely.
you have a few different camps, right?
Right.
Some who would subscribe to the disease model of addiction, which has
a chemical imbalance that makes people crave more than other people, right? That's kind of the whole
Sure.
basic concept.
And there's validity
Yes.
to that. Yeah. And I would also say, AA and the way the literature puts it is it's a spiritual malady, right? So I think there's validity to both.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't hang out in one camp or the other.
Right.
I kind of move back and forth.
Swinging on the mind.
Right. Yeah.
Tree of life.
Nomad.
Yeah.
So the disease model of addiction would define it as a chronic, progressive, eventually fatal brain disease, right? Which, evidence would show it certainly has its effects on the brain. But then there's the spiritual component, and even in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? There's stories of, doctors treating people early on, but then only being able to get to a certain point, right, of treatment and not being able to explain past a certain point, right? And I think that's that spiritual piece, right, where you can't explain.
Yes.
Right. The unexplainable is that spiritual piece.
Right. Yeah. And that is the balance of it is, it hurts to see people struggle. I wish everybody had the moment of it just taken from them, but that is not the way that everybody's story is going to play out. It, simply put, the more I see the common thread in people, so 6 years sober, right, started the next step, and I've seen a lot of people come in and out. I do see this like common thread of like people who have started to pursue Jesus. We are able to, seem to have longer recovery times. And do you see the same thing? It could also be my community, like my bucket too. You know what I mean? That could affect that part.
Yeah. In the field, we're always trying to track trends, things of that nature. But I think when you boil it down, or when you attempt to boil it down, there's no true formula, right?
Yeah.
Because every person you're treating, every person you're touching is different, right? We are all fearfully and wonderfully made, right? According to Scripture. So it's a case-by-case basis, right? But, when you look at it, right, there are certain dimensions or pillars of recovery that are tried and true, stand the test of time. We know that connection with other people, connection to a community, as you mentioned, produces long-term results. Housing, safe and secure housing, produces good long-term results. Focus on health.
Yeah.
And, one of the things we promote at Next Step is focusing in on health holistically. So mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, right? All those things that make us a whole person, being healthy in that regard. Because like you said, we're not just going for sober, we're going for healthy.
And there's almost this power that you give something when you start to fixate on it. Like if I start to fixate on don't drink, don't drink, don't drink, that compared to that's just not who I am. Like I'm focusing my identity now, right? And like my identity is someone who's more healthy, someone who takes walks instead of drinks beer, and that's powerful. That's a powerful space.
Well, and again, going back to this idea that it's not a one size fits all, right? Because we're all different. We all come from different backgrounds, different levels of support, ideologies, things of that nature. Even, I guess, willpower, right? So one of the things that we've really bought into as an organization and really as advocates for people in recovery, and it's actually pretty controversial in a lot of arenas, is this idea of harm reduction, right? So it may not be realistic for somebody to just stop drinking altogether. Right. So it's, can you drink a little less?
Yeah. And at that point, it's keeping them alive. That's the goal at that point. Correct?
Yeah.
And, the culture around some of it has been the teeth gritting. We don't do it. And we're in this club that has this initials on it. And that's not what we do. But it depends on someone's story. I mean, that's just like the same thing you said earlier. Like it is a case by case basis. For me, this was my first time in recovery. I never tried to get sober my whole entire life. And I didn't even really plan on it. It just kind of happened. But like for some people, they relapse 100 times. I mean, it just is what it is. Or one thing that I've noticed in my recovery has definitely been like layers of things. Like you take away the drugs and alcohol, right? And then you start to have this like, oh, now there's this. So now there's like, I don't know, patience. And God's like, okay, now you got to work on that. And to me, it's all the same. It just, those spaces, that feels all the same. When God is convicting you of a space of your personality, it is a conviction nonetheless, right? It breaks my heart sometimes when I see people who say maybe they aren't able to help someone else because they don't have a drug addiction or substance abuse disorder. Or they don't have the ability to understand. Like, what would you tell the parent whose kid's, shooting up or something, and they've never really messed with that before? Like, or what do you say to the person who's walking on the side of the road homeless? Like, you need to get sober. We know typically that kind of does the opposite a lot of times, the shame piece of it. What's the best way to handle that? Someone in there, like, they're still in the mess. What do I do?
I guess the best advice I could give is try having a conversation with the person.
Yeah, just love on them.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you may not be an expert, right? Have all the knowledge, have done all the research, just have a conversation with them at first, right? Yeah. During that process, you could potentially make an informal needs assessment, right? Mm-hmm. You can learn about the person and where the deficits are, the deficiencies, right?
Yeah.
What their needs are. And then from there, you can think about your own strengths, right? What could I do for this person based off of my own strengths or the resources I have?
Right.
And then, you'd certainly want to do your due diligence and do some research. But I think it just starts with a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. No shame, no putting them down.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's going on? Like, who are you? How'd you get here?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be, and again, it's the opposite of addiction is connection. That's exactly what you're saying, right? It's the loving of them. Is there anything else that you want to hit on?
Well, I would like to, we've talked about really the roots of this being recovery, faith, and community. Sure. And so, now where we sit as members of organizations, I mean, you yourself a business owner, right? Thinking about community engagement right? Just bringing it all full circle, right?
Yeah.
From a person in recovery to someone who is now deeply rooted in the church and serving, and a business owner, right? The community at large. Like, what do you see moving forward in terms of how that plays out for you, your connection with all these things, and maybe some recommendations for those outside of this room?
Yeah. So my thing that I always think about, and it sounds kind of morbid, is how many people can I help before I die? I believe that in business, for me, I have more financial success when that's not the thing I'm focusing on. When I focus on people and community and the good that I can do with with the service that I provide, that takes care of itself.
So you really like coming from a place of like this servant leadership model,
Absolutely.
right? Because you are a leader where
Absolutely.
you sit.
And it's that thing of like, you don't want to be too obsessed about finances, but the finances is what buys you the bigger boat to save people when the ship starts to wreck.
Sure.
Right. So I had to consider all of that. But there is a point in business for me where I feel like I can get too big. So I'm actually in this place of downsizing because I think I can be more effective in helping other people. Now, financially, a lot of people would see that and think that's silly. Like, it doesn't even make sense. But what doesn't make sense to me is living your whole life and not trying to help people change.
Well, and we've kind of towed that line too at Next Step because we've experienced some significant growth over the last several years.
Absolutely.
And the dangers with that is sometimes it can compromise the culture of what made it so special in the first place, right? So I think we're very conscious, aware, and cautious of that growth at the same time, because there are pros and cons, right? We're growing, we can reach more people at a higher level, and with that comes more staff, right? Management, different levels of management and leadership, just all kinds of different demographics that, in essence, could essentially you run the risk of losing
people,
what made it special in the first place, and that intimate connection with the people, right?
What I say for FYP is I will do anything to protect my culture, because when I get into a place, and I'm going to assume it's for Next Step, it sounds like it's the way that the residents feel, the clients feel when they come in, but it's I want to be happy. That's it, period. I don't want to be crazy stressed. I don't want to be running all over the place. Like, it has to be happiness. Now, the farther I get in business, the more I realize that it's about the person. So, like, I hear a lot of times that people are like, oh, these employees stink, or we can't keep anybody. But the reality is like, you have to be someone they're willing to follow. Like, my guys have to trust me. They have to be able to come to me when something's wrong, or feel comfortable calling me and knowing I got their back. Whether that be, hey, I'm about to relapse, or whether that be, how do I get this stain out of carpet? It can be either, but it's the same thing, that open line of connection. And another thing that I want to like kind of bring up too with that question you asked me is like, one of my goals too is to kill stereotypes of addiction. So I love the fact when I go meet someone, they don't know my background, they don't know who I am, and maybe they see my branding, Vans or whatnot, and I go, yeah, 6 years ago I was drinking a half gallon of vodka a day.
Right, but it's not something you typically lead with, right?
It's not my, hey, nice to meet you. No, it's not. And so, like, to break the stereotype of what people think addicts are.
Yeah.
Because we miss the good parts of them. It's all a double-sided quarter, because that same place of they're going to do anything to get the drug is the same thing that they're going to do anything to solve a problem. So, like, if we can take those aspects of them, they're actually super employees. So the encouragement for me with the community and the hustle aspect of the podcast, give these people a chance. Like, hire them. Hire the guy who hasn't had a job in 2 years, but he's been 6 months sober. Like, take that risk and see what that does for your business and yourself. That's my goal. That's it.
Yeah, and it sounds like some good advice. Take the risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, you're modeling something, right, as a leader. But also, I think it comes down to, I know for me personally, as far as preserving the culture and everything that comes with that, it's like I want people to be able to experience what I experienced.
Absolutely. And that's such a driving factor. That's such a driving factor. You want to give people a piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what would you say for people who are in the space of recovery, who maybe want to pursue a career in it? Like, what do you see that to be like? So for me, that's originally what I wanted. Originally, I was like, man, I would love to be a peer coach and work for Next Step. Now God had other plans. So like that line of, I want to help people. I don't want to get over into that Al-Anon or that kind of space where I'm doing it for me, when I'm actually doing it for people. What's the encouragement for people to do good with what they have, I guess?
I guess the encouragement would be, well, one, don't give up on the dream. Mm-hmm. But I think two, it's not uncommon, mm-hmm. right, for folks who have lived experience to want to pursue a career in that field. But I guess the advice I would also give is like, give yourself time.
Mm-hmm. Don't rush it.
Give yourself space. Give yourself grace. Mm-hmm. Don't rush it, right? Don't build too many expectations mm-hmm. too quickly.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things I know that you and I have both learned is when there are no expectations, there are no offenses, right?
Correct.
That's the leading cause of offense is expectation, which just leads to premeditated resentments.
Which leads to sometimes relapse.
Right.
Very quickly.
Right. Yeah. So I always encourage people, just give yourself some time.
Yeah. Give
yourself some space. We need it to heal. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. That's the first step, is healing.
Yeah. And I think it's beautiful too. And one thing that I'm thinking about is like how necessary it was to go through that, right? Like how necessary it was for you to go through what you went through in your addiction, and how much I needed to go through it too. I didn't know that I was like almost going to school.
It was all preparation.
It was. And like, I mean, for me, like I wouldn't turn down my addiction. Like I do not want to cross that part out of my book. Like I am so grateful for my time as an addict because it just teaches you things. Like you just have a different appreciation for sobriety and people and hardships and what people go through and the sensitivity to that. And it's fun.
Well, I am super excited to be here kicking this off.
Yeah.
Hope and Hustle podcast with you.
Yes, absolutely. And with you as well. This is going to be fun, and we can reach some people, and it's feels right.
Yeah.
So let's see what we can do with it.
Looking forward to the conversations and all the connections with the different people.
Absolutely.